We're seeing a lot of double standards in the American justice system lately, but here's one that hasn't received very much coverage lately. 78 members of Congress have violated the Stock Act, a law designed to prevent insider trading and stop conflicts of interest. And you know what their defenses are? They offer excuses like ignorance of the law, clerical errors, and accounting mistakes, as reported by Insider magazine. Imagine that you claimed ignorance of the law, or you simply forgot to report it. If that were you or I, we'd find ourselves either locked up or facing some heavy fines. But the D.C. establishment, not even a slap on the wrist, literally. Business continues as usual for them. Join me now, former stockbroker and the OG, the real Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Jordan, good to have you. Some of us would spend time behind bars for doing things that they're doing. Why don't you tell our audience what they're allowed to do that you and I or they wouldn't be allowed to do, but D.C. insiders are?
Well, there were reporting requirements for people that are in Congress. They have to report their trades at a certain point each year, and there's simply not many of them, 78 of them, right? And if the SEC has those laws in place for people as well, like ordinary citizens, right? But if we violate those laws, you're at least getting fined by the SEC and probably getting a criminal indictment on top of that. But in the case of Congress, like, oops, we didn't really know what it was about. You know, we passed the laws ourselves and whatnot, and they get away with it. And it's kind of always the case. And you go back to Nancy Pelosi's husband, especially, he's the king of this, or, you know, through Nancy, that, making millions of dollars. He just closed out and I think he's put $2.6 million into Microsoft for making another huge hit. So, I mean, I think it's time that this is put to an end, really. It needs to stop. There should be a ban, which they proposed, but it died. And of course, the law never got passed. There should be a ban on Congress and trading on information like this. It should just be not trading at all, in my opinion.
So there it is. By the way, folks, it's not just Democrats. We're pointing the finger at Republicans and Democrats, both sides of the aisle. Senator Feinstein, Senator Marshall, Hickenlooper, Senator Whitehouse, Carper, Gary Peters, Dan Sullivan, Senator Kelly, Raskin, Wasserman Schultz, Madison Cawthorn did, several others, both sides. But here's the issue. The Stock Act is an act for Congress, people, elected officials in Congress, who are allowed to trade on information. They're allowed to invest in companies based on information they have, or in some cases are about to decide legalities of certain things. So think of this, folks, for a second. I'm Nancy Pelosi. I know that in my district there's a paper company, a paper mill that needs water. They can't get the water, and they can't get a variance. Nancy Pelosi can sign a law that allows that paper company to get that variance. Meanwhile, her husband or she can invest in that company, which is going to make it so much more profitable with the access to the water that they can make money. If Jordan Belfort or Eric Bolling did it, or anyone watching, we would go to jail for that. But they're allowed to do it. So the thing is, Jordan, they're allowed to cheat, but they're cheating beyond what they're even allowed to cheat. They can't help themselves.
Here's the thing. Even the slightest bit of information that you have an edge in can make a huge difference when it comes to investing. It doesn't take a lot. So like you made a very good point. It could just be as simple as having, they know they're voting in a certain way. They know what the other people in their block are going to vote, which way they're going to vote. And a small change can lead to a huge change in the bottom line for a company and the stock price. And listen, if you look back at Paul Pelosi's track record, he's Warren Buffett, basically, this guy, right? So
I'll give you one. As good as Jordan,
yeah.
You and I, listen to this. Paul Pelosi invested in NVIDIA, NVDA. It's a microchip stock. Maybe 30 days, 45 days prior to the Biden administration signing over $50 billion to who? The microchip companies, including NVIDIA. He made a boatload of cash. Now, how? She knew it was going to get passed. She was Speaker of the House at the time. How in the world is that legal?
Let's go one step. Let's go back to COVID for a second. I hate to go there, but even like when they passed the COVID restrictions, it was for everyone but them. Like, in other words, it's like there's exemptions they put into these laws so that the law doesn't apply to them. It's really, time that it comes to an end. This is such an obvious conflict of interest. And I don't care, listen, it's just too tempting. Like, if you're sitting there, you have this ability, and a lot of it's very in the gray. So, like, they know it's difficult to prove. They can say, oh, no, I just like the stock. But at the end of the day, you really need to believe that all these people that are, they're beating the mark consistently and they're in Congress are not relying on this edge they have. Of course, it has to be. So
And by the way,
the law needs to be.
And by the way, they're supposed to be public servants. You're supposed to be a public servant when you're elected into Congress or the Senate or the president. You're not supposed to get there to rape, steal, and pillage your way into millions of dollars. Jordan, I got to go. I appreciate your time, my friend. I know you weren't feeling well. You made it to the camera. Always good to have you on. Good friend of the show, good friend of mine, Jordan Belfort.
My pleasure.